Hey guys, welcome back, or welcome for the first time if you're new here. Tonight, we're taking a slow step into the shadows of the past, to a time when the streets of a great city hummed with life, and the quiet moments of everyday people wove together the fabric of history. We travel back to ancient Rome, not to the loud battles or grand triumphs alone, but to the soft stories hidden beneath the marble and dust. Here, among humble homes, bustling markets, and fading sunsets, we will discover the truths of a world long gone, but still alive in whispers and memory. Here, we leave the noise of the present behind and slip gently into history's shadow. But before we slip into the story, if you genuinely enjoy this kind of videos, where history meets atmosphere and bedtime meets curiosity, consider tapping that like button and subscribing. And let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you. I really enjoy seeing how far this community reaches across the globe. Now go on, dim your lights, and settle into your cozy bed. Now, let's slip into the story. The morning light seeps softly through narrow alleys, casting long shadows across the worn cobblestones of Rome. The city awakens slowly, as if stretching from a deep, ancient sleep. The air carries the scent of fresh bread, olive oil, and earth warmed by the sun. In the bustling forum, merchants arrange their goods with care: ripe figs, glistening olives, fragrant herbs bundled in soft cloths. Their voices mingle in a quiet chorus, gentle but alive. A child tugs at his mother's tunic, pointing to a basket of bright red pomegranates. Nearby, a baker pulls steaming loaves from the oven, their crusts crackling like soft thunder. The smell curls through the streets, inviting passers-by to pause, to breathe deeply, to savor the simple gift of warmth and sustenance. Everywhere, the sounds of the city blend. The clatter of wooden wheels on stone, the chatter of neighbors greeting each other, the distant ringing of a bell calling worshippers to the temple. At a small fountain, women fill their jars with cool water. The splash is rhythmic, a quiet song in the morning hush. They talk in low voices about the day ahead, the preparations for the market, the tasks of the household, the hopes tucked quietly inside their hearts. In modest homes, families gather around wooden tables. They break bread, drizzling it with pungent garum, a sauce made from fermented fish, salty and sharp. Simple meals of lentils, cabbage, and soft cheese nourish bodies that will toil in fields, workshops, and streets. The wealthy dine on roasted meats, glazed with honey and spices carried from distant lands, cinnamon, pepper, and saffron. Their laughter drifts from courtyards where fountains sparkle under vines heavy with grapes. Through it all, Rome breathes and moves, a city of stone and spirit, where the past lingers in every corner and the present unfolds like the slow turning of a great ancient wheel. As the day stretches on, the sun climbs higher, bathing the city in golden light, and as you listen, feel yourself carried gently into this world. A world of ordinary moments, lived long ago but echoing still in the quiet spaces of your mind. The horizon stretches wide and open beyond the city's walls, where the dust rises from marching feet and the clash of iron quietly echoes in the distance. War was a constant companion to Rome, not just in the stories of emperors and generals, but in the lives of soldiers and citizens alike. The Roman legion was a marvel of discipline and order. Each man drilled tirelessly, the sharp clink of armor and steady thud of marching feet forming a rhythm as precise as the beating of a great drum. Leather sandals struck the earth in unison, the dust settling around their feet like a fleeting shadow. On the battlefield, the legionaries formed tight, impenetrable lines, their shields locked together, creating walls that could withstand arrows and spears. The gladius, a short sword sharp as a razor's edge, was wielded with swift precision. Behind them, standards fluttered, symbols of Rome's power and unity. But battle was more than blood and steel. It was strategy, endurance, and the will to keep standing. Soldiers shared stories around campfires, dreams of home blending with the smoky night air. They carried charms and tokens, small wood carvings, knots of hair from loved ones, reminders of the life waiting beyond war. Fierce campaigns stretched across the known world. In Gaul, Julius Caesar's legions marched through forests and rivers, meeting fierce tribes whose courage tested the empire's might. The Battle of Alesia was a brutal siege, thousands trapped within walls, hunger gnawing at resolve, until victory turned the tide. Elsewhere, Hannibal crossed the Alps with elephants, a feat so daunting it became legend. At Cannae, his tactics nearly shattered Rome's armies, but resilience pulled the city back from the brink. Rome's power was not just in conquest, but in returning, rebuilding, and pushing forward. Yet war also shaped daily life. The city buzzed with the sounds of armor being forged, horses being cared for, and messages being carried across the empire's vast roads. Soldiers sent letters home, inked in haste, speaking of harsh winters, distant lands, and hopes for peace. Behind the glory lay the toll. Families left waiting, farms untended, wounds both seen and hidden. The empire's heart beat fiercely, but it was fragile, held together by loyalty, discipline, and the silent prayers of those who awaited the return of their loved ones. Within the walls of a typical Roman home, life moved with quiet purpose. The domus was a world unto itself, rooms arranged around an open courtyard where vines curled over stone fountains, their soft trickle mingling with the scent of herbs. The pater familias, the oldest man in the household, held authority over all. His word shaped the day's rhythm. Yet it was often the women, the mothers, daughters, and wives, who kept the hearth alive, tending to the sacred flames of the household gods, the lares and penates. Mornings began early. The clatter of wooden sandals on tiled floors blended with the low murmur of conversations and the occasional call of a servant. Children stirred, their faces still soft with sleep, clutching simple toys, clay dolls, or miniature chariots carved from wood. Boys would prepare for school, gathering scrolls and styluses, their lessons taught in Latin or Greek by tutors or in crowded classrooms. Girls, often taught at home, learned to weave, cook, and manage the household, skills essential for future roles. Slaves moved quietly, unseen but essential. They carried water, ground grain, polished bronze, and served at the table. Their lives were marked by obedience, but many found small freedoms in their work, whispered friendships, stolen moments of rest. Religion was woven into every act. Offerings of wine, bread, or incense were placed before household shrines, a daily reminder of the gods' presence. Outside, the city's temples drew crowds during festivals. Saturnalia was a time of joyous reversal, where masters served slaves, and laughter spilled into the streets. Divination and omens held sway over decisions. A bird's flight, the pattern of a sacrificed animal's entrails, or even the twitch of a soldier's hand might alter plans. The future was a fragile thread, carefully watched, but never fully known. Meals were more than sustenance. They were moments of connection. Families gathered around wooden tables, sharing dishes, simple or elaborate. The humblest fare could feel sacred, flavored by love and care. Through it all, the pulse of family life carried on, steady and sure, like the turning of the city's great wheels. The aroma of roasting meats and fresh herbs drifts softly through the rooms of a Roman villa, mingling with the warm glow of oil lamps. Food was not just fuel, but a celebration of life. A way to bring family and friends together, to mark occasions, and to savor the bounty of the empire. At the heart of every meal was panis, the bread baked daily by skilled hands, crisp on the outside, tender within. It was broken and shared like a silent prayer. Alongside it, olives, plump and oily, offered a bite of the Mediterranean sun. Dishes ranged from the humble to the lavish. Lentils simmered gently with garlic and herbs, while seafood, fresh from the Tiber or distant shores, was seasoned with a touch of garum, a pungent fish sauce prized by Romans despite its strong smell. Fruits filled the table, figs bursting with sweetness, pomegranates jeweled with ruby seeds, and grapes still warm from the vines. Nuts cracked open with soft clicks, their richness a welcome contrast to fresh vegetables like cabbage and turnips. Wine flowed freely, watered down but fragrant, from deep red Falernian to light fragrant Caecuban. It was poured into cups carved from clay or glass, held delicately between fingers worn from daily toil or adorned with rings. Meals were often slow, unhurried affairs. Reclining on cushions, diners would lean on one elbow, savoring flavors as conversations drifted lazily from politics to poetry, from laughter to quiet contemplation. For the wealthy, banquets could last hours, with courses served in endless procession. Roasted boar glazed with honey, stuffed dormice, and pastries spiced with cinnamon and pepper. Music from lyres and flutes floated through the air, adding a gentle rhythm to the feast. But even in simple homes, food was a source of comfort. Stews thick with barley and vegetables, fresh cheese soft and crumbly, and fruit picked from the garden were treasured treasures, offering sustenance and warmth. In the kitchens, cooks stirred pots over fires, their hands skilled and steady. They worked quietly but with pride, knowing each meal was a thread in the fabric of daily life, a moment of connection and care. The city thrums with life, not only in its markets and homes, but in the grand arenas and open squares where the people gather to watch and remember. The Colosseum rises like a stone giant, its arches echoing with centuries of cheers, whispers, and silent prayers. Inside, crowds settle onto wooden benches, the air thick with anticipation and the mingling sense of dust, sweat, and spiced wine. The murmur of voices rises and falls like the gentle tide of the sea. As spectators wait for the games to begin, gladiators prepare in quiet corridors, muscles taut beneath armor gleaming faintly in torchlight. They are warriors of skill and showmanship, bound by honor and the hope of survival. Their battles are not only contests of strength, but stories told through movement and courage. Chariot races thunder around the Circus Maximus, horses pounding the dirt track with wild, powerful energy. The crowds roar for their favored teams, draped in colors bright as the Roman sun, reds, greens, blues, and whites. The air vibrates with excitement and the promise of swift, daring glory. Festivals burst across the calendar, each a celebration of gods and seasons. Saturnalia turns the city upside down, masters serving slaves, gifts exchanged, laughter spilling into the streets like spilled wine. The streets fill with music, dancing, and lights flickering against stone walls. But these spectacles are more than entertainment. They are the thread that binds Romans together, a shared experience of joy, fear, and awe. In the roar of the crowd, in the clash of weapons and hooves, lies the pulse of a people proud of their city and its endless stories. Between events, citizens stroll the piazzas, discussing philosophy, gossip, and the latest news from the empire's far corners. Street performers juggle, storytellers captivate, and vendors sell sweet figs and honey cakes. In these moments, Rome reveals its true heart, a place of contrasts, where grandeur and everyday life meet, where the echo of history is alive and breathing in every smile, every cheer, and every quiet sigh. In the heart of Rome, where streets twist and rise like rivers of stone, the work of countless hands builds the city's spirit. Artisans and builders labor in sun-dappled workshops and dusty quarries, shaping wood, stone, and beautiful. The stonecutter's chisel strikes with steady rhythm, sending small flakes of marble dancing like snow. Each strike is deliberate, a note in the silent music of creation. Blocks of white and grey marble slowly become columns, statues, or intricate reliefs that tell stories of gods, heroes, and emperors. Nearby, carpenters carve beams and frames, their tools singing soft songs of wood and grain. The scent of fresh pine mingles with the dust, wrapping the workshop in a quiet calm. Nails are hammered, joints fit tightly, and slowly, structures rise. Homes, temples, and aqueducts that will stand for centuries. The smith's forge glows warmly, the heat flickering across faces focused on molten metal. With hammer and anvil, iron is shaped into swords, tools, and household items. The rhythm of hammering blends with the crackle of fire, a steady heartbeat in the day's labor. Builders work on grand projects, arches spanning rivers, roads stretching toward distant provinces, and the vast aqueducts that carry clean water to the city's heart. Sweat beads on their brows, hands roughened by stone and mortar. But in their work lies pride. Each stone laid, each beam set, is a gift to generations yet to come. The city itself seems to breathe with their effort, a living monument to dedication and skill. The clang of tools and the murmur of plans float through the air, soft as a lullaby to those who listen closely. In the evening, artisans gather in small taverns, sharing stories of their craft, their dreams, and the quiet satisfaction of a day's work done well. Their hands tell the story of Rome, not just in stone and wood, but in every life touched by their labor. Behind the grandeur of Rome's marble columns and bustling markets lived countless souls whose stories often went untold. The slaves and freedmen who formed the empire's quiet foundation. Slaves came from many places, brought by conquest or trade. Some worked in the sprawling villas of the wealthy, tending gardens, preparing meals, or caring for children with patient hands. Others toiled in the streets, carrying burdens or crafting goods under the watchful eyes of overseers. Though bound by chains of circumstance, many found ways to carve small freedoms within their lives. A shared smile, a whispered word, a secret hope for a brighter future. Among them was Lucius, once a soldier captured in distant lands, now a skilled craftsman. He worked in the pottery shops, molding clay with care, his hands remembering strength even as they shaped delicate vessels. Lucius dreamed of freedom, a quiet life where he might one day own a small plot of land and grow olives beneath the sun. Freedmen, those granted liberty, walked a delicate line between past and future. They built new lives, often continuing the trades learned in servitude. Some became respected merchants, teachers, or artisans. Their names might be known, their stories whispered in markets and forums. Still, shadows lingered. Freedmen could not hold certain offices or enjoy all the rights of citizens born free. Yet their resilience was a testament to the enduring spirit of Rome, a city built not just on stone, but on hope and the slow, steady climb toward dignity. In quiet moments, under the wide Roman sky, slaves and freedmen alike looked toward tomorrow, toward families to raise, debts to pay, and a peace hard-won through patience and perseverance. The roads of Rome stretched like veins across the empire, paved with stone and alive with movement. Merchants and travelers carried goods, news, and stories from distant lands, weaving together the vast mosaic that was Rome. Along the Via Appia, wagons creaked beneath their heavy loads. Barrels of olive oil, sacks of grain, bundles of spices. Drivers steered sturdy horses, their breath misting in the morning chill, eyes alert for bandits or unexpected delays. Among them was Flavia, a trader from Pompeii who specialized in fine textiles. Her caravan moved slowly but steadily, laden with dyed fabrics woven with gold threads. She knew the best inns, the safest paths, and the markets hungry for color and quality. Travel was not easy. Dust choked the throat, rain muddied the paths, and inns offered only sparse comfort. Yet each journey brought new faces, new voices, new horizons. At crossroads and city gates, merchants bartered and exchanged goods. A piece of silk for jars of wine, a basket of figs for fine pottery. Stories were traded as eagerly as coins. Tales of storms survived, strange customs and distant temples. Roads connected Rome to the farthest provinces, from the deserts of Africa to the forests of Germania, from the bustling ports of Alexandria to the hills of Britannia. Along these paths, cultures met and mingled, languages overlapped, and the empire's heart beat steady. In quiet moments beneath stars unfamiliar but bright, travelers dreamed of home, of family, and of the endless road ahead. Each step was a thread in Rome's vast tapestry, a silent promise that no matter how far, the city remained. Beyond the marble forums and crowded streets, quiet corners and shaded gardens held the whispers of ideas, thoughts that traveled far beyond the empire's borders, shaping hearts and minds through gentle persuasion. Philosophers gathered beneath olive trees, their voices low and steady, discussing virtue, fate, and the nature of the gods. Stoics taught the strength found in acceptance and calm, while Epicureans sought joy in simple pleasures, reminding listeners that tranquility was a treasure. In a small study lined with scrolls, a young poet named Marcus pens verses inspired by the city's beauty and sorrow. His words flow softly, capturing fleeting moments, the shimmer of moonlight on the Tiber, the quiet smile of a stranger, the weight of history resting on stone. Literature was a refuge and a mirror. It reflected the complexities of human life, the triumphs and the losses, the grandeur and the quiet shadows. Through poetry and philosophy, Romans found ways to understand their place in a vast, changing world. Public readings echoed through open courtyards, voices rising and falling like a gentle tide. People listened, rapt and thoughtful, finding in stories and ideas a shared language of hope, fear, and wonder. Art and music, too, breathed life into the city. Frescoes adorned walls with scenes of gods and heroes, while lyres and flutes provided a delicate soundtrack to everyday moments. In these realms of thought and creativity, Rome revealed a softer side, one of contemplation, connection, and the endless search for meaning beneath the sunlit stones. As centuries passed, the mighty city of Rome faced winds of change that whispered through its streets and echoed beneath its arches. The empire, once vast and unyielding, began to shift like the slow turning of a great wheel. Battles far from the city walls, strained armies stretched thin. Invasions by tribes from beyond the borders brought both fear and new stories. Inside, the once bustling forums grew quieter. The rhythms of daily life altered subtly but surely. Citizens sensed the shifting tides, some with hope, others with uncertainty. Markets still bustled with color and sound, but beneath the surface, questions lingered. What would come next? What of the grand dreams and steady lives built on stone and sweat? In small homes and villas, families continued, as always, tending gardens, sharing meals, whispering prayers. The love of home and the comfort of familiar routines held firm, even as the world changed around them. The old gods slowly gave way to new beliefs. Churches rose where temples once stood, and with them came new voices of faith and peace. Rome, like a great tree shedding leaves, prepared to grow anew. Though the empire's shape shifted, its spirit endured. In stories passed down, in roads still traveled, in stones still standing beneath the sun. The fall was not an end, but a quiet transformation, a moment of rest before the next dawn. Now, as the fire's glow softens and night deepens, rest. With the stories of ancient Rome close in your heart, let their gentle truths cradle your thoughts, carrying you softly into peaceful sleep. You have walked through centuries and shared in quiet moments of life long past. The city's pulse has slowed now, its secrets whispered and its stories told. Sleep well, traveler of time.